guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Tammy D. If you're just seeing my face for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, on this channel, I film about faith, family, relationships, my hair growth journey, and a whole bunch of stuff. So today, I actually have a special guest with me. Her name is Chetan. She's my very good friend. We go way back from college days in University of Lagos. All my homies from Unilag say, hey. So yeah, we've been trying to get together for a while to talk about this issue of domestic violence and stuff. She's a very strong woman. I admire her every time. Every time I see her, I'm just like, this woman is such a strong woman. So I'm so blessed to have her. So when she gets in, she's going to be introducing herself. Hello. Good to see you.
Hi, Tammy.
I love you. You know what? I love your strength. I love everything about you. Anytime I see your posts on Facebook, I'm like rolling all over you've been such an inspiration. You've been such an encourager, encouraging us to step out of our comfort zone and do things that really inspire us. And you've used your experiences to help other people. So my darling Faye, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Oh wow. Highly honored, I have to say. Thank you so much for those lovely words. Sometimes you put yourself out there, you're doing as you believe the Lord leads you to do, and it's so amazing to hear feedback like this. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're welcome. So Faye, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. So today, guys, if you're joining, we're going to be chit-chatting about domestic violence, how to identify abuse. There are different levels of abuse that I've never heard before, but whenever I read Faye's post, I give myself brain. I give myself sense. So introduce yourself and then we'll talk. We'll just be chit-chatting in general.
Right. My name is Faye Chiton. I'm a trauma-informed domestic abuse and narcissistic abuse recovery coach. I'm a training consultant on domestic abuse and narcissistic abuse matters. And I also provide what I call therapeutic family court support for survivors of domestic abuse. And that is because the family court is a very key aspect that abusers use to try and control and manipulate the survivors after leaving the relationship. But we'll talk about that.
Wow. Such big words. I don't even know.
Don't worry, we'll get through this.
Yeah. So let me start from the beginning, right? The base. Like for somebody who wants to get into a relationship, right? Maybe the person is dating someone and the person has been showing her some signs or him some signs, as the case may be, but she's still holding on. What are some of these red flags that somebody should see in a relationship at the infant stage and decide that, you know what, let me just run now while I can?
Right. So there's some very obvious signs and there's some very subtle signs. So I like the way you worded it. So if there is anything at all that creates a seed of doubt, I think that is enough. I suppose growing up, a lot of us were made to believe, oh, no one is perfect. You can still kind of support the person to be better. Please don't settle for that, because coming into a committed relationship like marriage, you need two whole people, not two half broken or two broken people. You need two whole people to have a successful relationship. So what those red flags might look like, of course, physical abuse is something everybody knows about. Really, like if the person hits you or they throw something at you, or even if you witness them hitting somebody else, maybe their siblings or someone close to them, that sort of thing. They might not be doing those things to you, but they're even doing it to people you believe they should value and respect. It is enough red flag. So don't think because, oh, he or she is doing that to other people, but treats me specially. If they can do it to at least one other person, it means they have the capacity in them they would eventually do it to you. So that is enough red flag.
Wow, I
So,
like what you said there. I like what you said because I never thought about it like that.
oh,
In
yeah,
Nigeria, back home, when we have maids, we have drivers, we have all
that's
these
right.
people helping us. So if they can do it to other people like that, does that mean
Absolutely.
that they can do it to you?
That's right. If they can do it
Mm.
to, they might not even be domestic help. It might even be maybe other friends, or it could be
Wow.
other siblings or other
Mhm.
family members. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a domestic help or strangers. It could even be
Mhm.
familiar people. But if they have that capacity to do those type of things to other people, yes, it is enough. Don't feel like, oh, I'm a special person. He knows to be crazy with other people, but not with me. It is enough red
Yeah,
flag. It's
yeah,
that
yeah.
capacity. They have it in them,
Mhm.
and they can eventually do it to you. So, of course, look out for signs of aggression. Is this person overly aggressive? Right? Are they easy to communicate with? Are they
Mhm.
reasonable in their reasoning, in their thinking? Are they controlling? Is it out the controlling aspect again can be very subtle, because
Wow.
sometimes that controlling behavior can sometimes look like, oh, it's because he loves me, that's why he's calling me 100 times a day. Yeah, it's because he loves me, that's why, oh, I told him I'm going to work, but he's calling my secretary or my PA to be sure I'm at work. you
Wow.
know it's
Yeah.
because he loves me, that's why he's calling my mom when I said I was visiting my mom, to be sure that I'm with my mom. So those types of things could easily be translated like, oh, this person really cares, but no, that is a sign of
Red flag
controlling
right there.
behavior.
Yeah.
So there is a difference between someone calling you out of care, like, oh, babe, just want to be sure you're there. All right, I'll
Mhm.
talk to you later. And it ends there, right? Or someone that is consistently calling, oh, are you there yet? Are you there yet? All right. Oh, I'm my mom. Okay, let me speak with your mom just to validate that
Wow.
you're there with your
Wow.
mom.
Wow.
And maybe like 15 minutes later, they're already, how are you getting on? That consistent badging of interruption. So they're not letting you be. So it's a lot to do with their own insecurity. It's got nothing to do
Mhm.
with you. But if you have that sort of person that demands explanation of your every movement,
Mm.
that
Mm.
is a concern. And it shouldn't,
Wow.
one red flag is good enough. Don't wait to have like a combination of red flags. One red
Mm.
flag is good enough. So the other thing, of course, is verbal abuse. How does this person talk to you? How do
Mhm.
they talk about you? How do they talk about the people they claim they care for? Right? Like,
Mhm.
again, their siblings or maybe their exes, if they've had previous relationships.
They
Because
badmouth their ex.
yeah, there is something about abusers that
Mhm.
they are people, other people always wrong them. They're always in
They
the right.
always
They've
do
never
things.
done anything. Yes. So
Everybody else is wrong, but they are the only
yes,
ones that are right.
they might talk about, oh, the parent or the mommy or daddy issues. They might talk about nobody has ever cared for them the way you do. Again, there is a fine line between someone being truthfully expressive and someone
Mhm.
just playing victim, basically. So
Wow.
watch out for that.
For
And of course,
that.
there's the exaggeration of reality. If you've been with the person long enough to know
They are
that
taking notes.
you should, because we need everybody, especially the younger generation, to be aware of these things. Because I believe for a lot of us, we didn't have this opportunity.
Mhm.
I was going to write
Mhm.
something on Facebook today to say, look, this day and age, you can't say you are not aware. The
Exactly.
information is out there. So get the information.
Everybody
So
has avenues to get information. Yeah.
absolutely. Information is very, very important. And because, of course, if you're going into a marriage, of course, this is about your life, you're
Mhm.
committing into this relationship. Of course, we won't always get all the information we need. We may not necessarily be equipped enough or be matured enough, but it's good to be aware. So at least you're not putting your life on the line for someone who is
Mhm.
ready to basically humiliate you in every way possible.
Mhm.
you know then
Mhm.
look out for signs of financial recklessness. Does this person
Wow.
spend the money they have, or are they the types that maybe they have access to like $100, they're spending $1,000? you know are they look out for signs of inferiority complex. Inferiority complex can be covered up in designer labels. you know.
Yeah.
If it's
But yeah, I have
about,
a question. What if he just spoils you on your birthday and buys you like a Gucci bag, maybe something like that? Will you talk
it's
and
no, it's that's not a problem. But the thing
okay.
is, can they afford it?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or have they borrowed to do that for you?
Hmm.
Or have they put that on a credit card to pay later? Or have they given you those gifts to now use to control you to be in that relationship?
Hmm.
After
Hmm.
everything
Hmm.
I've done for you,
Hmm.
you're still, they expect you
Yeah.
to basically give your life away because of the extra effort they are putting into the relationship. And it's not because they care about you, it's because they're trying to control you to stay with them.
Manipulation. Hmm.
Yes. So that's why I mentioned that it's a combination of things, but one red flag is good enough to
Good enough.
excuse yourself
Mhm.
from that relationship, because it's only a matter of time that things will start, let me use the word evolving. you
Right.
know. So they
And
don't
in
always,
relationships, when they are dating you, they put out their A game, you
you see,
know?
that's the thing. Like in the beginning, and that's why I always say that people assume that domestic abuse starts with violence. No, it starts with kindness,
Hmm.
because nobody is going to go into a relationship with someone that comes and say, hey girl, I'm going to make sure I deal with you. I'll make sure for the
I'm
rest of
going
your
to take
life
the
you
last
regret,
set out of
you regret meeting me. And the person goes, oh, that's my prince charming. Let's walk down the aisle. No, it doesn't work like that. So
Hmm.
domestic violence actually starts with kindness. So
Hmm.
there's the superficial charm, you're the girl of my dreams, you complete my statement, I can't live without you, I like you, you're very smart and intelligent. If you even watch all these interviews when they do weddings on YouTube or
Hmm.
other videos, when they interview couples, you hear them say those things. Oh,
Hmm.
she's the woman of my dreams. She completes me and all of that. And of
Hmm.
course, the bride too will say the same. And you begin to wonder, where does it go wrong from that?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
So yes, domestic abuse actually starts with kindness. It's about the charm. It's about, liking what you like, hating what you hate, being there for you. So what abusers do, particularly narcissistic abusers, is they try to mirror you.
Wow.
So they're basically mirroring you. So it's because they're not genuine people, they're not real people, right?
Wow.
So they try to
And
mirror
scammers.
you. Sorry?
Will you call them scammers?
Oh
Like,
yeah, but absolute black
okay.
market products. Yes, yes, they're scammers. Yes. So they try to mirror you. They might be
Mhm.
nice to your family members. They might, pick up some responsibilities, because for them it's
Mhm.
about impression and needing to be liked and accepted. Again, there is a fine line, because a truly genuine person could
Mhm.
come across that way. But there are some other
Mm.
subtle signs that's why it's important to put everything into consideration, right? Because I suppose to a large extent, some of us can be very sentimental. I'll be like, oh, right. I saw him, he was really aggressive and went overboard, being angry about a particular thing. And then you're thinking, oh, I remember the time I had a car breakdown and it really showed up for me. So we start rationalizing and
Mm.
creating
Mm.
excuses for
Mm.
bad behavior,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's about the inconsistencies,
Wow.
really, in that sort of behavior. Yes, we're asking for
Mm.
perfection here, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the cases that another one I watched because I used to watch Skinny Girl in Transit, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there was one time Shalewa, is it Shalewa? Yeah, that girl's
Tiwa's sister.
Tiwa's sister.
I watched SDIT.
Yeah.
Yay!
And then she was dating this guy, and then for one little thing, the guy just got angry and just started acting irrational.
Oh yeah, that's the
Remember that
guy she started
episode?
dating after Muhammad, I think.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
that guy.
Right. If
Yeah.
you remember,
Mhm.
I can't really remember the what the exact script there, but I remember, of course, it started with kindness.
Yeah.
Didn't
It
it?
was like,
Invited her over, and then
yeah,
this minute it was just overly aggressive over nothing. And then she broke a glass cup and then it hit her. Right.
exactly.
You see,
Yeah.
that's the thing with physical abuse. Physical abuse is usually the last thing anybody will experience. It's not the
Mm.
first, right? So by the time
Wow.
the person has the guts to hit you, you've already experienced series of abuse that you may not even be aware of. So there would have been
Wow.
manipulation and coercion and
Mhm.
verbal abuse and maybe financial abuse or psychological abuse, right? So
Yeah.
it's that subtle controlling behavior mixed with some charm, like, yes, okay, superficial apology. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll
Mm.
never do that again. But before
Uh-huh.
you
I hear
blink,
that a lot. Oh,
yeah,
he's
before
sorry.
you
He's
blink,
changed.
yeah,
He's
after all,
changed.
yeah, and after
Yeah.
all, I've begged you. What else do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not going to
Yeah.
apologize to you over this. So they don't really care about your emotions. They are aware of what they should do. It's not like they don't know. So these are intentional bad behaviors. Bad is being kind. I'm being kind.
By using bad.
Intentional evil
Yeah.
behaviors. Let me put it
Mm-hmm.
that way. In the sense that, yes, I've apologized to you once. I'm not going to do that again. Right. And it's like, it's not about that they don't know what they should do, but they intentionally don't want to do it to hurt you, right? Because they only want all those good emotions on themselves.
Wow. So can they not know that they're causing harm?
Oh, they know that's what they live for.
They know.
Yes, every abuser is very much aware of what they
Intentional
are
of what they're
doing. Oh,
doing.
yes, because
Wow.
the pain they cause you, seeing you upset, seeing you feeling insecure, seeing you
Mm-hmm.
becoming a shadow of yourself, seeing you, being fearful of them. Because what abusers do is they try to instill fear in you, right?
Wow.
Those are the things they live for,
Mm-hmm.
seeing that, yes, they've subdued you. And this is where we have, I would say, should I call it gender imbalance? I'm aware, of
Mm-hmm.
course, because I have male clients as well. I'm aware that there are a lot of men who experience domestic abuse, basically saying there are a lot of women abusers as well. But we
Okay.
can't deny the reality of patriarchal privilege, all right,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Yeah.
men have been empowered, to be like even
Right.
scripturally the
Yeah.
head of the home. So it's only those ones that are fortunate enough, or let me say wise enough to understand what the value in that position is, that enjoy the benefit of the fruitful, healthy, positive relationship. So,
Wow.
but for the abusers, the patriarchal privilege for them is about power and control and domination and abuse, abuse of power, abuse of privilege, anything that makes them make you feel like you are under them. That
Wow.
is what they live for.
They
They
want to
live,
subdue you.
absolutely, they live to
Wow.
see that. They live to
Mm-hmm.
see you beg to be loved or cared for. They need to basically, they live to see you beg to smile, right? And
You
so it's like
serious? Wow.
or
Wow.
beg to exist. Yes.
Do you think
So
our culture has anything to do with it, or does our culture? Yeah, because that's one thing I'm really trying to change the mindset of people. So if they themselves can change, is it possible for them to change?
I'll tell you what, the thing about culture is at the end of the day, culture is dynamic, isn't it? All these things
Mhm.
are man-made, right?
Yeah.
And the reality, I like the way you put it there because yes, our cultural hierarchy kind of validates, it gives room for abusers to thrive.
To drive. Yeah. Yeah.
We have an enabling culture, let me put it that way, in the sense that, of course, look at the hierarchy, right? You
Mhm.
have a situation that, and I think this applies to all tribes, particularly in Nigeria, where we come
Mhm.
from. Um, an older person, it goes that way, from the older to the younger ones. As a younger person, you can't talk to the older ones in a certain way,
You can't challenge
right?
them.
You
Yeah.
can't challenge them. You can't
Mhm.
even, you might, some people don't even have the privilege of asking questions because it's like, why
Mhm.
do you want to know? I'm
Yeah.
older than you,
Because I said
do as I
so.
say.
You know that because I said so.
And yeah, and you can
Yeah.
tell that the information they're giving you is wrong, but you're expected to just follow through.
Take
So
it
if
and
you
go.
now look at our
Mhm.
cultural hierarchy, where men are and where women are, and of course that is why you have a lot more men perpetrators than you will have
Mhm.
female perpetrators,
Yeah.
because yes, the cultural hierarchy has created that foundation for that to happen.
Yeah.
So,
So
like, you're very right. It is about a change in mindset because we
mhm.
can't blame culture. If you're doing something to someone that puts them in a less than human position, then that ordinarily that should you should know that is wrong.
Okay.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not really about culture, it's about what people intentionally want to
Want
do.
to.
But of course, they will hide under culture or tradition
Uh-huh.
or
Yeah.
religion. you know.
So if these people see themselves in that position, what can they themselves do if they say, "Oh, these are all things I do. How can I change? How can they change? Can they seek help? Can they seek counseling? Can
I'll
they?"
tell you what,
Yeah.
we talked about culture, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
domestic abuse is basically generational error. That's the
Mm-hmm.
foundation of it. It's
Yeah.
about all the combination of the beliefs, the tradition, and all things that have been put together for us as a way of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I can imagine like several years ago, this is a forbidden topic, if not for.
So we're breaking, we're shattering my
Exactly.
feelings.
And you know what? Even this day and age, you still have people that will just look at you like, talking about domestic violence and all these women that don't know how to
They'll
submit,
call us women slave. We want
Yeah,
to
and
live.
especially being a woman talking about domestic abuse, there is that
Yeah.
this one cannot submit, or is this one the only one that marriage didn't work out? That sort of thing. So again, the foundation of it all is in generational error, and
Yeah.
it affects both the abusers and their victims as well, in the sense
Mhm.
that those that are being abusive, that believe they should be abusive, even the people that they are abusing as well believe they should be abused as well.
Oh my goodness. You know how that saying that says, I think it's one Bob Marley song that says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Absolutely.
So
Yes,
those people too, they need
it
to
is expected.
start
You see,
emancipating
that's why,
themselves.
let me use like men and women typical situation, right? That is why you'll find a lot of women in abusive relationship. They'll create excuses and say, oh, but it's the father of my children. Or even if they don't have children, you hear is my husband. I can't leave him.
I can't live
Where,
without him.
yeah, where does that come from? It is
Yeah.
about conditioning, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it?
Mm-hmm.
So talking about change, I'll talk about different types of abusers,
Uh-huh.
right? Because again, talking about generational error, unfortunately, it's not about justifying it or excusing
Uh-huh.
their behavior, but it's
Mm-hmm.
about creating an explanation and understanding on why some people. So there are some abusers that are unfortunate victims
Yeah.
themselves. So
Yeah.
they've
Uh-huh.
lived to see this is how
Yeah.
it's done.
Okay, maybe they grew up that way.
So if they
Yeah.
grew up in an environment where they saw that with grandfather, great grandfather, their uncles, their friends'
Mm-hmm.
fathers, and all of that around them, talking about
Mm-hmm.
men now, right? Even with the women. So the men believe that's what a man is supposed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of
Mm.
course, the women too would go along like that's what he's supposed to do to me. I didn't get his food ready on time, so he's meant to pour that.
Supposed to slap my face.
He's supposed to slap
Very
me, or even yes, I'm supposed to kneel down and have him put his legs over me. you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, so there are some who are genuine victims of
Mhm.
such generational errors
Mhm.
and beliefs, right? But there are also those who are on the spectrum of personality disorders,
That's the people being abused that have
the
that.
abusers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
the abusers themselves, some of them, of course, victims of generational errors, as I mentioned.
Mhm.
And the other category will be those ones that are on a spectrum of personality disorders. That is when you talk about narcissists, you talk
Wow.
about
Uh-huh.
psychopaths, you talk about the
Mhm.
Machiavellis, and you talk about sociopaths.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. So
Mhm.
with those ones, if they are on that spectrum of personality disorder, it's a journey of no return, I have to
Oh
say.
my
There
goodness.
is no coming back. There is no
Wow.
change. You can pray from now till the end of time. What the prayer
Only
will
God
do,
can change them, Abby.
it is only, that's why I call it,
Mhm.
the only thing that can change them is what is called the Damascus experience, just as it is in the Bible. It is
Apostle
only if
Paula.
God
Uh-huh.
decides, do you
Yeah.
get, at his own
Uh-huh.
time
Mhm.
to change those people. That is the only time.
Wow.
And I have to say that their change is not because of anybody's prayer. It's not because somebody is kneeling down and
It's a
fasting and praying
personal
for them.
encounter.
If you try to pray for those people, you will wear yourself out
Out.
unless your focus with prayer is open so that you can receive what God is revealing to you,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
rather
Mhm.
than being focused on, oh, Father, Lord, change him, that sort of
Mhm.
thing. And then you can see that. But what I found out is, particularly for those on that spectrum, the more you pray, the more rebellious they become.
Are you serious?
They attack you the more. I'm saying this from personal experience and from so many other people's experiences as well.
They don't like people
Yeah,
praying.
because they have this demonic rebellious
Oh
spirits,
my goodness.
right? Of
Mm-hmm.
course, they are aware you want good for them,
Yeah.
but they don't even want the good for themselves. So you're
Mm-hmm.
basically like the sacrificial lamb who they use, to live. They thrive on the pain they cause you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those
Mm-hmm.
category of abusers, it is a hopeless situation. You can't put your life on the line trying to change them without
Mm-hmm.
either losing your life or at
Mm-hmm.
least losing your living, in the sense that
Or
you have
losing
people.
yourself too. Some
Yeah,
people lose
that's what I mean
themselves.
by exact.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by
Yeah.
losing your living, in the sense that you can't even focus on anything. You can't do anything, and all of these things have impacts on you. Emotional distress. It's it could have different impacts on you that until you start seeing the symptoms manifest, you don't even know how much damage. You've had people go into depression because of relationship challenges, because of
Wow.
domestic abuse. You have
Mm-hmm.
people, they have chronic body pains. You have all sorts of sicknesses and diseases. You have different mental health challenges, skin issues, insomnia. People
Wow.
they start begin to
Mm.
lose their head. The people develop alopecia because of domestic violence. And don't
Wow.
forget that when we're talking about this abuse, it's not just one of those, casual misunderstanding, because that is how
Mm-hmm.
the society downplays it.
Things about it. Yeah.
Relax now,
Mm-hmm.
everyone goes through. Marriage is hard. I don't know how people got to that belief that
The
marriage is hard.
marriage is hard. Yeah. A lot of
Exactly.
people justify abuse by saying,
What makes it
marriage is
hard?
hard.
It's
Yeah.
people and their
Mm-hmm.
beliefs, their
Yeah.
conditioning and expectations,
We've been made
isn't
to
it?
condition that marriage, you have to suffer. If you have not suffered,
If
you're
you
not
have
in
not
marriage.
suffered, you are not married, though.
Is that true, really? Is that true?
You
That's not
know.
true, right?
So yeah, so those are the types of mindsets that we need
Mm-hmm.
to challenge, because
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I talk about the generational error, that the
Mm-hmm.
abusers expect to do that, and of course, unfortunately, some of the victims too expect that's the right thing to do.
You do,
I
yeah.
saw. I'll give you an instance, and of course, I have this person's permission to share as often as I can. There's this particular client of mine that with her own experience and all that, and she said the only reason she didn't want to leave, she could leave, she was financially independent and all that,
Mm-hmm.
was because she saw her mom go through all of that, and her mom
Mm-hmm.
stayed because of them
Because of
until the
them.
youngest one was in uni. And I said to her, at the time your mom was raising all of you, all of these opportunities are not available for her to escape.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said, go have a conversation with your mom and ask her
Mm-hmm.
to be sincere with you, that if she
Mm-hmm.
had the information and the opportunity, if she had those opportunities then that she has now,
That the
would
daughter
she have
has
made a better
now.
decision? You know
Uh-huh.
what she said to me? She said, you're right. I don't even need to go back to her, because she already told me that the only reason she stayed
Wow. Was because she
was
was
because.
independent. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't have any options. She didn't have any form of support. There was
Mm-hmm.
nowhere to turn to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So apparently her mom was the one that encouraged her to reach out to me, because she
Wow.
actually reads my post.
You see
I,
now,
I
those
have some
guys, go check
amazing
her face posts. So they're
I have
amazing.
some amazing grammars. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious?
Mhm.
Also, I've had different people say
Yeah.
that to me at different times. My mom
Mhm.
reads your post, which is amazing. So again, it's about being aware of what those things are, because your life is at risk when you're
Mhm.
in that situation, that you're living with someone or you're in a relationship with someone who is intentionally, because domestic abuse is intentional.
Intentional.
Right?
Yeah.
It is deliberate. There's no accidental
You can't
action.
accidentally, and the one most people will say, oh, maybe he didn't,
It didn't mean
maybe
it.
you met him at a bad time.
Yeah,
Maybe
and
yeah, maybe you triggered it. You
that's
know?
right.
Yeah, a lot of
Yes.
people give that
So,
excuse.
and
It doesn't
there's
happen.
no justification for it. It's about conditioning. So some abusers can change, absolutely.
Mhm.
Right? I've had few people that I've worked with who didn't even realize what they were doing was abuse,
That's what
But
I'm saying.
again,
Yeah.
some of them, because they read my post, sent me an inbox, and I have few sessions with them, and it's been life-changing for them.
Wow.
Because for them, it's
Awesome.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what we were taught to do. I'm like, if you keep it that way, you're going to lose your family. Because our homes should be a place of abode. There's a lot of challenges outside
Exactly.
the
It should be
world,
a place
isn't
of
it? So
comfort. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you can't go into your home and be crossing your heart and be
And be
hoping
praying that
and
you
praying
don't know
like
you're working on how the eggshells
you're
inside
walking
your
on
own
eggshells,
home and
basically.
all that. You don't
You're
know.
constantly living in fear because you don't even know what else to do or what you're going to meet at home, what you could do right or wrong, because most of the time they don't give you a notice about when they're going to, react to different
Yeah.
situations. And it's
Hmm.
got nothing to do with you. It's about who they are, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yes. So the ones that are not on the spectrum can change.
Okay.
But those ones on the spectrum, it's a hopeless case, I have to say. So unless God decides to, and we know how God works, He doesn't
God
always
works
respond
in
when we want Him
mysterious ways. Yeah. Yeah.
to. He
So
doesn't work on our own
what
timing.
part does the family have to play in the situation, right? I know you talked about the fact that grandmas read your post and all that. What part does the family have to play, as in the extended family, oh, not
Yes,
the immediate?
immediate.
Yeah,
Yes, I think most cases, abusers' families are enablers of abuse.
enablers. So when you
Yes,
say enablers, what does that mean? Like, are they the
they
ones?
are. Most of them are aware of. Again, let me just use men against women. So to avoid he or she, man, woman,
Mhm,
you know what I
mhm,
mean? So it's just for
mhm,
ease of conversation. It's not ignoring the fact that some women are abusers too. So people,
mhm.
please do bear with us. So because a lot of family members, they know the nature of their sibling because they grew up with that person before you married him, right? They already
Mhm.
know this one. So the subtle way people will qualify that, my brother is a difficult person, right? Or,
Uh,
or is very stubborn,
but they
right?
can't come out and tell you that. Hmm.
Even when they do,
Mhm.
the expectation still falls in this generational error of, you two, just be patient with him, keep praying and keep fasting,
Wow. Wow.
right? So,
Mhm.
and that is deception.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there
Mhm.
is that expectation that, well, you're married to him, you should be able to bear it. He's your husband. So it's as if that husband title is like a weight on your life. So take it,
Your
whatever it
cross.
is.
It's like your
And
cross to carry.
exactly. So a lot of family members, because of this, again, generational error,
Mhm.
if there is an issue, you are even expected to go to the husband's family first, not your own family,
Whoa. Wow.
right? Or you go to your pastor or your religious leader. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, what do most of them preach? Women, submit,
Mhm.
submit. So even
Mhm.
if it's clear that the guy is in the wrong, most of the time what you see is they will still make the woman apologize to his lordship.
Whoa.
So there is barely accountability, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of
Mhm.
family members, and you
But
hear
they
them
forget the
say,
part of that Bible that says husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church.
I would even tell you what,
Mhm.
even the submission is both ways, isn't it? But they just
Exactly.
like to
Yeah.
script to
Yeah.
skip the scriptures and go to the only one
Uh-huh.
that says,
Yeah. But
yes,
that's the only
that,
one they hold on to, that part of submit.
that's
Even the
right.
person is a crazy, raging
Absolutely.
lunatic.
Even if the person is pounding your head in mortar and pestle every day, just your Lord, sir,
Charlotte.
it doesn't matter as long as the person has the title husband, your life is over, basically. So that's what the society has wrongly, let me I have to emphasize wrongly preached.
Mhm.
So a lot of families enable it in that manner, like, he's a man, you have to do what he says. Oh,
Mhm.
he's my brother. You can't do that. It will only be his way. So rather than speak to the
Wow.
person to get the
Uh-huh.
person to be at least reasonable or hold them accountable, no.
Mhm.
So no matter what happens, most of the time, I'm not saying in all cases, most of the time, what you find is they'll still say, you as the woman, you should have a way. Like there's a
Like, are you
miracle
a
you
witch?
can there's a miracle you
I
you
know,
can
right?
just pick up from somewhere. And you
Why does he always have to land on the woman's fault? It's your woman's fault.
exactly. So
Yeah,
that
it's your fault.
heavy
It's your fault that you were
responsibility.
slapped, you know?
Aha. you know, and even if you think about it, right? Because I know I saw this growing up with even my own mom and maybe some of my older sister's friends and some aunties, and it was all over the place. Even in Hollywood movies, all these things are there.
Mm-hmm.
If there is an issue in a relationship, right? The woman with the family meeting, that's why I call those meetings witchcraft meetings. And they don't attend because you're not even going to have a
You
voice.
cannot win.
If you find out the woman is barely sitting down, most cases she will be on her knees. And
Wow.
the man will sit down there like the lordship. And it doesn't matter what he has done.
Hmm.
Even when she
That
tries to
even
explain,
agreed. That even agreed to come to the meeting itself. That's another plus for the woman. We
exactly.
will not even go.
That's right. And even if she tries to explain what he did, it was like, be quiet. You don't talk about your husband like that. Recently I had the case that this woman, the guy had called his wife's aunt to, of course, there was smear campaign. He said all sorts of manners of things she didn't do and all of that. And when she was trying to explain herself to her aunt, say, Auntie, look, this guy is a liar. Do you know what the woman said? No, don't call him a liar. She was like, why?
But he lied.
Why you doing? He lies all the time. And she just kept going. Don't call
Denial.
him a
That's like
liar.
being in
So,
denial, right?
when she told
Yeah.
me later, I was like, okay, maybe she should have just said, but he doesn't tell the truth. What does that make him?
It's a lie.
So it's that thing about putting abusive men on a pedestal to be abusive. So
Yeah.
most of the time, the family enables the abuse. And when you can make someone accountable to even make them realize what they're doing is wrong, and
Yeah.
they have the support of their immediate family,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to change?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because they don't even see anything
They don't even see
wrong
anything wrong with what
with what we've
they're
done.
doing. Yeah.
And guess what? When all those family meetings end, that woman is in double trouble
No, it even
because
gets worse.
it
In
gets
some
worse.
cases, it gets
Exactly.
worse. Yeah.
That's it. It gets worse because it's going to go. So look at the people you reported me to. Even if he reported and called the family meeting, he
Mm-hmm.
will
You
still
still be
blame.
the one to
Yeah.
blame.
So they have this way of developing selective amnesia. They deny things that have they'll deny things that have happened to your face. It can be a bit shocking, like, oh, you called them. What do you mean I called them? I didn't call them. So there's a lot of manipulation, even in
Wow.
the so-called intervention, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of manipulation going on as well. So yes, a lot of family members, unfortunately, they enable the abuse. I only have few cases that the in-laws will be the one to say, listen, is my son. I know who he is, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to let him kill you. I'm giving you
Mm-hmm.
our former. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I'll call the police. So it's not common, but there's still very few genuinely sensible people, you know, who
Yeah.
will distance themselves and they'll make it clear to the woman, like, listen, whatever he does, we don't support him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not very common.
Yeah.
So a lot
So
of family
how does
members.
a woman in that kind of situation, a life-threatening situation, where does what's the best place for her to seek help? Outside of the family, or how can she get the help she needs so that she
Right,
doesn't lose her life in the process of trying to patch things up?
right. If you're in an abusive relationship, there is nothing to patch. And I have to say that you don't even have a marriage because there is no abuse in the reality of marriage. It is
Mhm.
not
Yeah,
normal,
marriage,
right?
exactly. Stop fooling yourself.
It's not
Marriage
normal.
abuse is not part of marriage.
Yeah,
Abuse
because
is
I
not
could
part
say
of
that is
marriage.
a situationship,
Yeah.
bondage, basically. If you are married and you're being abused, you're living in bondage, you don't have a marriage. That is the highest scam,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, not to, because that's where you find a lot of people, the fear of divorce, first of all, and
Mm-hmm.
then the fact that they believe they're doing something to offend God, an unforgivable sin to walk away from an abusive relationship, you
Yeah.
know. So if you're in that sort of situation where your spouse is, I have to say, unrepentantly abusive,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
right? I have to use the word unrepentantly abusive. You've done what you know how to do.
Exactly. I like
You,
that word you said, unrepentantly.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
you
because you've
you
done what you, yeah.
know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
You try to
Mm-hmm.
seek help from the people you believe will help. Nothing is working, nothing is changing. It's not going to change. I have to say, there's no point missing words here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to get better. I don't think with time it gets easier. No, with time it gets worse, and your body keeps the score, right?
Wow.
So you probably will be aware of certain information available to you. I know people are concerned about the shame, the guilt, and all of that.
But
You
people
have
don't
to,
realize that saving their life is better than the shame, the guilt. Because if you
I'll
have
tell,
children and
I'll
your
tell you what.
life, you are not dead.
And let me just say this. Thank you for saying that, because removing themselves from that situation as well. Who does the abuser have to abuse when you are not there?
The children?
They do abuse the children, right? And let's even
Wow.
focus on the adults in the relationship now,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If the person is abusing you and you remain in the relationship, you are giving them the
The
power
ticket, yeah, to
to
continue.
continue the
Mm-hmm.
abuse, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
not about blaming the victims. Don't get me wrong. I'm only reminding victims in this situation
Mm-hmm.
how much power they have to seek help and remove themselves from that
In
toxic
that
environment, from
situation.
that
Yeah.
abuser,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
call the police. So many people don't want to report. Again, with those sentimental attachment of, oh, he's my husband. You don't have a husband. And if you have a wife that is abusive, you don't have a
You have
wife.
a
You have
wife.
a
You have
killer,
an abuser. You
basically,
have a killer. Yeah.
under your roof.
Mm-hmm.
There is an enemy within, right?
Yeah.
The person may not have started like that, because we did talk about abuse doesn't start with violence, it
Mm-hmm.
starts with
That's with
kindness,
kindness.
with
Yeah.
charm, and
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. So yes, report it. The first time abuse happens is the right time to report it,
Okay.
right?
But if you report it to the first time, what is the safest place to report it to? The very
I
first
would
time.
say, if that, do you know, as much as a lot of police officers are equipped and trained to provide intervention differently
Mm-hmm.
to domestic abuse situations, most of them will still go with signs of physical abuse,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
Because we talked about, it's not always physical. There could
Mm-hmm.
be the very subtle, consistent verbal abuse, manipulation, deception, the coercion, the control, the financial abuse. Those things, there is no physical evidence of them. So there are
Mm-hmm.
different ways and strategy to report it. So, of course, if there's physical abuse, by all means, you need to get out of that environment,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
you're able to call the police, call the police. You people like that most of the time would already have maybe family members or church members or neighbors or friends expressing concerns about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Believe those people, even if one of them
Yeah.
will be your
Mm-hmm.
first point of contact. And then let Google be your best friend. Find out
Mm-hmm.
about shelters, domestic abuse agencies, that can support you. And of course, if it's physical danger, by all means, lock yourself up somewhere. Call the police. Don't be afraid to call the police. I'll tell you, a lot of abusers will threaten that if you
Yeah.
call the
Mm-hmm.
police, I will deal with you. No, they're all the threats come out of fear because they don't want you to
Mm-hmm.
do them. So it's a sort of manipulation because they know what they're doing to you. They know what you should
Yeah.
do.
You
But
know
it's still
how they
sort
will
of the manipulation.
say, they brought you, you know how some people are abroad and the husband kid was already abroad,
Oh,
then they will now bring one
do you
Niger
know what?
girl, and then she will now come. Her eyes have, they will say her
Immigration
eyes have
issues
opened and stuff
is
like
a
that.
lot of, in fact, there's so many cases now with these immigration issues, not just
Mm-hmm.
men, but for women
For
as
women
well,
as well.
that the
Okay.
person would say, because I brought you into the country and all
Mm-hmm.
of that, and to use their immigration status to intimidate them. I've said to people, listen, I understand that maybe back home situations might not be the best for you, but at least you'll be alive, even if it means
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
being deported. And then meanwhile, domestic abuse support has nothing to do with your immigration status.
So it's not like they will deport you if you if you
No,
call the
it
police.
is not
Yeah.
automatic. In most cases, the domestic abuse experience has helped a lot of people to
Even with
even
their
gain their
immigration.
residency
Wow.
status.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but
Mm-hmm.
if you don't report it,
Because a
right?
lady in my church, she was talking about abuse of immigration. I never heard of it before.
Oh, yes,
I
absolutely.
didn't know it was
That
a thing.
You know what? the thing with abuse of immigration, again, this thing still come with this generational era we've been talking about, right?
Mm.
So you have some people who will tell you, in fact, I could even mention so many cases coming in my head right now. You have some people that will be like, this one is wife in London, wife in America, wife in Canada. Only one man, how far? Wife in Nigeria.
Oh, like the man has wives
The
all over
man
the
has
place.
different women. Meanwhile,
Uh-huh.
some of them might already have a wife, a family in Nigeria. So
Wow.
they come to this part of the world simply for immigration issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they could get into a relationship with maybe a single mom, promise the person heaven and earth, deny the fact that they already had the relationship.
Mm.
And I'm
Mm.
talking about this is something these people would plan over 8, 10 years.
Wow.
And they will still be managing that family because they want the person, to marry them so that they will get their legal status,
Mm-hmm.
finalized here. And then they will either leave the woman
After they got the immigration or
after they've gotten their
uh-huh.
immigration sorted and
Uh-huh.
then go back to their family in Nigeria or use their own status to bring their family back
Family
to
back.
family
Yeah.
into the country. So yes, it is very, very common. A lot of people are fallen victims of that. Of course, again, it's mostly women that have been victims and mostly men that have been perpetrators because it's not common that you see a woman that will leave her husband and children and come
And
abroad to marry
marry
another
another
man.
somebody here.
And the man
Yeah.
in
Uh-huh.
Nigeria or any
Yeah.
other part of Africa will be like,
Mm-hmm.
don't worry, marry this person just for no, it doesn't
No.
it's
Uh-huh.
not common. It
Yeah.
could happen in some cases, but if we try to put it on the scale, we know what that will look like. So yes, immigration issue, um, a lot of women are falling victims
Wow.
of
Wow.
that, and some men
Um,
as well.
there's another question I wrote down that I wanted to ask you.
There is a lot we can talk we
I
can
know, right? Yeah.
on this.
Yeah. God will just
People
keep
have
giving
said
us
to me that
wisdom.
I'm the only one they can forgive for talking about domestic abuse and smiling. As in,
Because it's not funny, right?
no, it's not. It
No,
is
it's
a
not.
terrible thing for
Yeah.
anyone to go through.
Go through.
It is
Wow.
it is a terrible thing, and especially when children are involved. Maybe we should talk about parenting and
Yeah, let's
how
talk
that
about when children
affects
are involved.
children.
Because I saw
Because
one video that you shared, right? And then the child, I think the child was standing there or something,
screaming and all that.
screaming. Ah, that I
Yeah.
was, my heart just
Yeah.
sank. I
Because
was like,
you see,
God,
when
no.
people tag me or share those videos with me, I don't like sharing them. I share that particular one because at the time I had some people sending me messages and still justifying or creating an excuse that they're open to stay for the sake of their children and all of that,
Hmm.
you know. And it is about um, listening to the voices of those children
Hmm.
and actually seeing what they are doing to those children. So those children are not merely witnesses to the abuse, they are victims too.
Yeah, yeah, that is so true. Yeah.
Because domestic abuse is trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It is trauma. And that is why you will find some victims, they would have PTSD, which is post traumatic stress
Traumatic.
disorder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even that could manifest in different ways. You have eating disorder. Some people would even develop some form of personality disorder as well
Wow. Wow.
from being
Mm-hmm.
abused,
And you don't
right?
even want those children living in it to end up like that, either
Absolutely.
recipients or
Or they
being
might be the
the
abusers
perpetrators.
themselves.
Yeah.
That's right. And before they even get to that stage, right? If you look at the stories of, I like Will Smith, and let me talk about some celebrities that most of us can relate with that have shared their experiences of what that looked like for them when they were growing up, seeing
Mm-hmm.
what their fathers did to their mothers. Will Smith, Kevin Hart, Terry Crews. These are
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Black
Yeah.
actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've shared their experiences, and it's about them being angry.
Mm.
Most children that experience domestic abuse, most of them will be very angry,
Angry
and
and
that's
yeah.
because, of course, there is power imbalance. These are the parents they love, right?
Mhm,
Children
mhm.
naturally love their
Yeah,
parents,
parents, yeah.
all right?
Mhm.
And so seeing that, of course, and they can tell that what daddy is doing to mommy is
It's
off
not
shades of
right. Yeah.
wrong, but they
Mhm.
are helpless,
Mm.
right? And then they are angry in that helplessness, and even more angry because they can't really do anything about it.
Wow.
More angry because they are children. And of course,
Mhm.
we know in some cases people would doubt children. We
Mhm.
know things are
Mhm.
changing now because of information and awareness and,
Yeah.
lessons learned and all of that. Who do you go to? And even if the two adults in their life, the two primary adults in their lives, they can't trust them. Who do they trust? So
Wow.
you find some of these
Mhm.
children, they have trust issues.
Mhm.
So, and of course, with the anger and with trust issues, they become very aggressive.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is
And
why
they have
sometimes,
behavioral disorders and
exactly.
stuff.
And
Yeah.
this is where I believe as a society, we have a collective responsibility to not overlook or just downplay these issues. Of
Mhm.
course, it's not about putting ourselves at risk in trying to save other people, but that awareness is really important,
Right. Yeah.
because imagine a child growing up in that kind of environment goes to school with your child.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it could even
So
be
that
a
at risk
question of
too.
your that maybe their pencil is broken and they're trying to get a sharpener from your child, and they might be aggressive about it,
Mhm.
or they might be playing football together or some form of sports, or
Yeah.
they might attack your own child. So
Yeah.
even your child is at risk of the behavior of the innocent child who has become a
Who has
victim
become the victim? Mhm.
of that abusive
Yeah.
home,
Yeah. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So a lot of these things have some kind of, I think I could call it ripple effect on all
Mhm.
of us,
Mhm. Yeah.
whether we like it or not. And that's why we have to be mindful in how we look at people and situations. You have some children. I remember Kevin Hart particularly said his own aggression was primarily targeted at his mom, because he couldn't understand why his mom couldn't leave his dad, and why she would make them experience all of that.
Yeah.
So he was always angry with his mom. So domestic abuse can actually lead to child to parent abuse.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I didn't. Yeah. Wow.
So
Wow.
you find these children, they will be abusive towards either parent. But
And they
most
won't
of the
want to
time,
forgive the poor woman that is just a victim. They will
that's
hold that
right.
grudge against her because they feel like
Absolutely.
she had the opportunity to do better for herself,
That's right.
but she chose not to. Yeah.
That's right. Not
Mhm.
realizing that she was traumatized and just
Exactly.
as helpless as
Mm-hmm.
the child is. So then you find situations where this is where parental alienation begins, right? Alienation in the sense that an adult, that an abusive parent that is abusing the other parent in the presence of a child, you're already sowing psychological, manipulative psychological abuse
Yeah.
seed in
Uh-huh.
that child,
Yeah.
right? So this child is looking at that woman like, something must be wrong with you for him to do that to you.
Yeah. Like you're,
Especially
you're,
if,
you're a bad person. Yeah.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
especially if is a kind of what I refer to them as Santa Claus daddies.
Uh-huh. That is so true.
The
Yeah.
ones that like to
Mm-hmm.
buy the expensive things because mom is being financially abused. Even
Mm-hmm.
if she works, she has no control of her money. So when the child asks for something, mom would have to say, "Oh, you have to ask your
That's
dad."
so bad. Yeah.
And of course, children like who provides for them.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, I like the way you talked about financial because accountant in me has to come out today.
Oh yeah.
What about financial abuse? Let's talk about that
You
too.
see, and with that situation, let's round up this issue of
Okay.
parents to
Uh-huh.
child,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Yeah.
it's only normal, well, for lack of better choice of word right now, for that child to be drawn to the abusive parent because
Who's
they
not
see the
giving?
parent as the stronger one.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And it's safer for them to have allegiance with the abusive parent than the weak parent who is being abused.
Mm.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this because I want us as a society to be aware of how we judge people,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we see particularly a mother struggling with a child. So it's not all the time that because you have this thing that people always say that, oh, don't speak evil of the children's father in front of the
Of
children.
them,
So
yeah.
it's not the mother speaking evil of the father, it's the father displaying the evil
The
in front of the children. They can see it,
uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
right? So it's,
Yeah.
do you get what I mean? Because
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
but that's a thing, right? That
Mhm.
people of it's just like women can't just do
You can't
anything.
get a break.
Yeah. And so these are the things that
Mhm.
happen in most of those cases.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We're coming to the top of the hour now. So let's wrap it up with financial advice and
Oh,
financial abuse. Faye,
oh
thank
my
you so
days.
much. I so much appreciate all this knowledge. My head is getting bigger
I
with
love to
knowledge.
show up.
Thank
I'm a
you so
teacher.
much.
I teach about these things. I love to share. You know
Oh,
what? Every platform, we need every platform. We
yeah,
need
we need
every voice.
awareness.
We
We need
need
people to,
everyone.
from the
It's about
cradle, giving
Absolutely. It's
themselves
about
that.
awareness so that
Mhm.
when we
Yeah,
know better, we can do better, right? It's
exactly.
not about
Exactly.
breaking up relationships. Believe it,
Mhm.
relationships will break because the foundation is wrong.
It's wrong.
There are
Thank you.
so
That's,
many
yeah,
people that are
yeah.
married to people that are not married to them. They are living in bondage called marriage. It's
And we
not
don't want
real.
that. Yeah.
Relationships will break, divorce
Uh-huh.
would happen, and divorce is not a sin. Do you
It's not
know
the
that
end of
that
the world, right?
passage in the Bible that
Mm-hmm.
they're always quoting to say, oh, God hates divorce? In fact, I have a post I'm going to share soon on Facebook on that. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
you're hearing it here first.
Mm-hmm.
God hates divorce is actually a premarital warning to men not to abuse
Mm-hmm.
their wives.
Wow. Wow.
Anyway,
Uh-huh.
let me just
Yeah.
leave that there. For those who are willing, please go read that scripture and study
Uh-huh.
that scripture. You understand what I'm saying, but we'll save that topic for another day.
Okay,
All right.
cool. That means you
Anyway,
promised me another day, right?
do you know what? We could do this
Promising me
we
another
could do
day,
this every
guys.
day. We could do this every day.
Oh,
Anyway, let's
wow.
talk about financial abuse.
Financial abuse.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
financial abuse happens in different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be because there are people that will say, women, don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. Get your own money.
I like the way you did for you. Don't be
You know, you just hear, they'll tell them, get your own money. If you're financially independent, no man but no woman can do that to you. You'll be like, chill, what are we talking about here? It doesn't happen like that. So it's not that laughter is infectious, you know. And you know, so it's not about the women being lazy. No. Some women actually work.
Mhm.
But, you know, generational error, patriarchal privilege, they saw their father take control of their mother's money. And
Wow.
their mother, you know, she earns, she does all the work, she's running
Mhm.
multiple businesses, but daddy is in charge of finances.
Of all
Now,
that money she's making.
everything she's making. And I'll say this now, there are couples that between them, they
Mhm.
know who has more financial knowledge or who is
Mhm.
more financially capable, a better financial manager. It's a
Mhm.
different thing if between yourself you agree on who is
Mhm.
the better money manager. That's not what we're talking about here, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So we're talking about financial abuse, financial
Mhm.
violence, financial
Mhm.
trauma. Okay.
Mhm.
In a situation that again we're using man against man versus women, not because I'm not, you know, I'm not ignoring the fact that yes, there are women abusers as well, but of course, we know patriarchal privilege, unfortunately, makes a lot more men abusive than there are women.
Woman
But
can.
it's about awareness. So if you are a
Yeah.
man, you're being abused, no, we're not against you here. And if you're a woman, you're experiencing abuse, we're not castigating you here as well. So
Mhm.
it's about awareness, right? So she works, right?
Mhm.
And of course, all her earnings goes to him. He
Mhm.
has access to the account so that even if she needs to buy sanitary towel for herself, she has to take permission from him.
Even though she made the money.
Oh yes,
Whoa.
she has to take permission from him. And you can even understand how maybe let me say traditionally how that could easily happen. You have a
Mhm.
lot of women who are breadwinners, but you
Mhm.
will never
But
know
you never know. They can't even say it out.
exactly. And
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
they could buy the house, buy the car. We say, oh my husband bought this for me.
Yeah.
It's that conditioning
Can
of
you
course,
imagine?
it doesn't take away the fact that the man is the man. is
Mm-hmm.
your husband. It doesn't even matter who earns better here. Do you get what I mean? But it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
that conditioning of subduing yourself to elevate somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
this person takes absolute control of the finances. She, as in something as little as buying sanitary towel, she has to write letter of application
Oh my goodness.
to my lord.
Mm.
My period is coming in 5 days' time. Can
Wow.
I have £5? Yes, it is that bad. And I'm not talking about village people. I'm talking about educated,
Educated people.
graduates,
Hmm.
professional, right? High
Wow.
flying PhD holders. I'm talking about learned people, even living in the abroad.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Do you
Wow.
get? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's something about people feel they're too posh for domestic abuse stuff to
Wow.
get involved in, because it's seen like it's poor people. Why is my camera moving? That it's poor people's conversation. No,
Oh. Is your camera
right?
moving? Did you
I,
shift?
I think so. I'm just saying the
No.
thing shift from
Oh,
okay,
hi, you're better. Uh-huh. Yeah.
you know. So
Uh-huh.
people try to detach or dissociate themselves from, these types of conversation because of that conditioning. So these women will find themselves basically begging to have money.
Oh my
Or
God.
if it's a situation that she's limited or prevented from working at all or
Ah, that
running
one.
any
Yeah. Uh-huh.
business,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they have a woman who is able to say, Uncle Alpha, I'm earning this money. Okay, I can give you some, and have access, joint account, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Even at that, they would make sure that woman takes more, takes care of more of the expenses.
Even though they're making the money, they're giving her like an allowance, but they're
No,
making, no, I
even if
mean,
she is making the money, the fact that
okay.
she's earning an
Uh-huh.
income,
Uh-huh.
she'll be given more responsibility,
Uh-huh.
more financial responsibility, the expenses. She might be the one paying the mortgage.
Uh-huh.
She might be the
Mhm.
one paying the bills,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
She might be the
Mm-hmm.
one paying the children's school fees.
Mm-hmm.
She might be the one taking the financial responsibilities while it would say, oh, I'm building a house in Nigeria,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
and it does
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow.
Right? It doesn't provide
Mm-hmm.
anything. Oh, my siblings depend on me. So they're sending their money back home while she's putting
She's
all her
putting
earnings
oh wow, that's
into
really
that.
abuse.
So
That is
financial
abuse.
abuse can take different forms. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
most people, like I always say to people, there is no normal, sensible woman who doesn't want a relationship to work,
Work.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is
Mm-hmm.
really so much anyone can bear after a while. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why you find out that there's some women who would have lived abroad for like donkey years and they have nothing to show for it because of this financial abuse,
Wow.
right? And meanwhile, the mother-in-law might be sick. This guy would expect them, oh, you need to send money. I'm doing this project. That is why I'm always doing one project or the other
Project or
back
the
home.
other. Mm.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of them might even intentionally leave work. They will resign from work.
Are you serious?
Yes, they would intentionally resign from work if they can't get the woman to stop working.
Eh?
Right. Yeah. So they will
And
intentionally
then they will
stop
not
working.
expect her to bear all the burden. How
Absolutely.
they resign.
So
Oh my.
it's that
Mm.
that's why I said abuse is intentional, right?
Intentional
So
is what
it's anything to make life miserable for
miserable.
her. There are
Mm.
these ones that are not helpmates or helpers of destiny, they are destroyers of
Destroyers of
destiny,
destinies.
you know.
Mm.
So it happens that way, and even with the children. But guess what? If you have this Santa Claus daddy category, they won't have money to provide for anything. Shout at the children, go to your mother, go to your mother, go to your mother. Right?
Whoa,
But
my
when it
goodness. Yeah.
comes to maybe Christmas or
Mm-hmm.
something, you
Mm-hmm.
might just find them buying all the most expensive things in the world for the children. Again, it's about the children, it's not
Uh-huh.
about the woman because they're trying to
Wow.
buy the children's affection and trust
Affection. And so
rather
when
than
people say, think they are blamed, they can say, he's doing his job, he's taking care of
exactly.
his children, look at
That's
his
right.
children. That's another way to manipulate.
That's right. So
Mm,
there is a lot of coercion, there is a lot of manipulation, there is a lot of control
yeah,
going on. So it's anything to put that person in financial hardship.
hardship.
So
Yeah.
whether that is obvious to the person in the situation, Because some people are just can do, they don't even take the time to kind of uh to take some stock of what's going on around them. Oh,
Mm.
you've lost your job. Hey, yeah, I'm so sorry, don't worry, we'll keep fasting and praying, you get another job. But the guy intentionally left the job.
Wow.
Yeah, these are real cases. Real people. Educated people, like I said, in the
Just
abroad.
to punish her.
Yeah,
Can you
just so she
imagine?
bears all the expenses. So,
Eh.
so you want to work, Abby? Okay, then you
Okay,
go
go
on
and
and
work.
take.
I'll leave.
So some of these people will put themselves in these are the ones that are definitely on the spectrum of
Of
this
narcissist. Yeah.
personality disorder.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Those ones, there is no redemption.
There's no
You can't pray
redemption.
them to change, but you can
Mm.
pray yourself out of their
Out of
lives,
that, of
because it's
changing
just
your
not.
own self.
Exactly, it's just not
Yeah.
going to work. And
Mm.
I hate to say that, but at the same time, I love to say it because it's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without
Oh
lying to
my
you or
God.
deceiving you, it
Yeah.
doesn't get better.
Mm.
And again, it's about using the children. They don't provide for the children. They might just go like, if it's something they know the woman may not have the capacity to provide. Of course, she's paid all the bills, and the child is looking for a pair of trainers that cost maybe like $250, and you're like, in the list of priorities, you're not getting $250 trainer, you're getting this $50 trainer. That is when this super dad will show up and buy the child that.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah,
I make
these
them
people
say,
do
oh my,
all
wow,
sorts of crazy
wow.
things. Yes.
Oh, this is so enlightening, Faye. Thank you so, so much for joining me, guys. You've heard it. Thank you. Last words before we go. If you are in any kind of danger, please, please, please get help, seek help in any way. Google is your friend, like Faye has said. Continue to watch out. And if you are the perpetrator, we pray that God will open your eyes up, because it's only God that can help you.
Do you
Don't
know what? For people in that situation, they just have to, most people would always have someone who has expressed some form of concerns about them,
Mhm.
about their
Yeah.
safety.
Mhm.
So this is not about somebody not wanting your relationship to work. You
Work,
don't have a
yeah.
relationship.
Mhm.
Your life is in danger.
He's in
So
danger,
whether it's in
exactly.
physical danger, spiritual danger, financial danger, your life is in
He's in
danger, and
danger.
it doesn't get better. The
Hmm.
more quiet you are, the more
More
power you're giving
dangerous.
to the abuser,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So the
Mm.
silence is an enabling act.
What about counseling, Feyi? Does counseling help?
No,
'Cause I know you
when
know
it comes to domestic violence, counseling does not work. I know people talk about counseling.
counseling, yeah.
Counseling helps when maybe there is conflict or disagreement, not when there is
Mm-hmm.
domestic violence.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
what happens to people when they try to go for counseling, I'll tell you what, there are situations that even the abuser will be the one to initiate the counseling, not
Mm-hmm.
because they are willing to change, but because they want to add that to the list of the things they've tried to do to make the relationship work.
Oh, so that people can see that she
They
has
are
tried
putting
now.
an
He has
effort,
come.
but there is no change coming from their part. There
Wow.
is no accountability. There is no willingness to change. But if I didn't want the relationship to work, I went to counseling with her. But so it's
Mm-hmm.
all just, so when there is abuse, no, counseling cannot resolve domestic violence,
Violence.
right?
Mm. Mm.
Counseling is good for people that have, maybe they don't understand
That
what's going
both
on
of
around
them
them.
want the relationship to work. It can't be
Exactly.
one-sided.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
That's
Both
it,
of them have to be
right?
invested in the success of that relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
counseling is good to help you resolve maybe, so that's why I talked about conflict
Mm-hmm.
or disagreements.
Yeah.
Do you get, there's still that willingness of, okay, there's this thing we can't resolve. But
Uh-huh.
domestic
Uh-huh.
violence is not one thing, it's a combination of
Combination of
things.
things.
And
Yeah.
it's never a one-off incident, it's a repeated pattern of different things that nobody should be experiencing in
Mm.
their own
In
homes.
their own, yeah.
you
Mm.
know so yes, please, but the victims would definitely need some form of therapy, which could
Therapy.
be
Uh-huh.
counseling for
For
themselves,
themselves, not like couple. Okay.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
About
say it enough.
healing.
If
Healing
you're in a
themselves.
relationship
Yeah.
with an abuser, there is nothing you can do for them. They have to be willing
Willing.
to
Uh-huh.
do that for themselves,
For
because you need
themselves.
to heal from the
Yourself.
trauma they
Yeah.
caused you,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And I have to tell every victim or survivor of abuse, because believe it or not, with all the men and the women that I've supported over the years, I'm yet to see someone that will say, oh, yeah, I see why this person targeted you. They are not weak people. They are smart, intelligent, beautiful,
Wow.
God-fearing, diligent, resilient men and women who
Wow.
were just unfortunate to have fallen victims of these manipulative agents.
From the
And
foundation.
it comes
Right.
from these
Yeah.
generational errors
Yeah.
of, keep
So one
taking it.
advice I want to give singles, because it all starts, like we said, it all starts from the foundation. Singles, do your research, before you
To
go and
ask
end up. Yeah,
questions.
ask
Hey,
questions.
ask
Ask questions about
uncomfortable questions.
finances. Ask why you
I
broke up
have
with your
another
exes.
draft on that as well, on the uncomfortable
Questions to
questions,
ask.
but necessary questions. But I have to say though, you could even have all of this information, ask all the right questions
Mhm.
and everything, and still end up with an abuser.
Are you
Because
serious?
it's with that charm and the kindness and
Oh,
everything.
that pretense and
Yes, that
everything.
could come with it. But either way,
Mm.
the moment you notice there is abuse, it is
Flee,
that moment you have to end it. Even if you're
flee,
walking down the aisle,
flee,
if you're about to say
flee,
even if you've said I do at that last second, please, you're free to set yourself free,
flee,
right? So
flee.
don't feel the need to put your
Don't
life
start
on hold.
yourself.
It's not
Don't stop
about
yourself.
patience. This is not the patience or endurance the scriptures talk about,
Mhm.
right? This
Yeah.
is basically walking into the lion's den, and you don't
Man.
have to make yourself a sacrificial lamb for what somebody else, because abusers, they know what they're doing. They're very much aware of their actions. They
Yeah.
just believe that is what they do, and they need one target, right? And that's why you'll find situations that a lot of people, right, they struggle with who to reach out to.
Mm.
Because let me put it this way. I don't we're supposed to round up this conversation.
Hey, we need part two. Oh, hey, we need part two.
We need part 2, 3, 4, 5,
I
6.
know, right?
you know, because what happens is the abusers are not abusive all the time.
Yeah.
There's a cycle, there's a pattern
You
to it.
know how to put up a front.
They know
How
how
to
to put up
jump
a front.
to.
So the person I'm married to that is abusing me could be the most amazing person to you,
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've heard that too.
right?
Yeah.
So if I come to you to say, Temi, listen, this is what this guy is doing, you will struggle to believe because it's not
Mhm,
showing you any of that,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if I come to you to tell you, Temi, can you imagine? You'll be like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you need to work on yourself,
Mm, mm, mm,
right?
mm.
And that is what abusers do. They target at least one person.
Wow.
Well, so which
Wow.
means they have the capacity to rationalize their behavior. They
Wow.
have the capacity to do right. So they've only
Mm,
just chosen that person as the one, and it's usually the one they are married to, as the
wow.
one to make life miserable for them.
Miserable. Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah.
please excuse yourself from that
Mm,
misery, of course, within safety. Can you imagine
mhm,
relationships that people walk into with their eyes open? We now have to
mhm.
strategize how they would
Can you
escape
imagine? Yeah.
with
Yeah.
their children. And this is this I remember saying to my mom, like, I don't know what your generation and the generations before us did, but you people did not try at all.
They didn't. They'll say,
You know,
endure. You have to endure. You have to do
yes,
this. You have to
that's
do
right.
that. Yeah.
That's right. And yes, do better for yourself. Your life matters, right?
Mhm.
We there is life after abuse. Abuse doesn't define your life.
It
It's
doesn't
not
end your life.
it doesn't
In
end
fact,
your
it gives
life,
you the fact that
right?
you came out strong. It makes you a stronger person that you
That's
went
right.
to. Yeah, it
Yeah,
makes you a
and the
stronger
thing is,
person.
abusers like to isolate because they don't want the person to be in contact with people that will support them,
Fine.
right? So they
Yeah.
tend to isolate people, even if they if they relocate to a different country or a different place or a different town. It's about isolating them to be able to control them, so they don't have access to support or help,
Wow.
right? And that's why you'll
Mm.
find out a lot of women will be accused of not being able to make their own decisions, like somebody else is teaching them what to do.
Mm.
It's a
Mm.
common thing. It's
Wow.
example.
Wow.
And of course, yes, your
Mm-hmm.
life is important. You are valuable. The
Mm.
abusers need to work on themselves. It is not
Mm-hmm.
your responsibility to help them to
To
get
fix
help.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they have to be willing to do the work,
To
but
do the
you
work
have to take
themselves.
care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
of course, protect your children because they're as much victims as you
As
are.
you
You
are.
have to protect yourself and protect your children and
Hmm.
live in safety. That is how we can break the cycle
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
of
Exactly.
abuse.
Wow, it is well. It is well. This is so enlightening. Thank you so much, Faye. Nice seeing your face again after how many years?
I know. Thank God for social
I
media,
know
isn't
they
it?
love on social media.
Thank
Oh,
God for social media.
yeah.
Tell thank you so much.
No
Well done. Your platform
problem.
is amazing.
Oh, thank
So
you.
thank you for bringing all these topics, because
Hot
we need
topics.
information. Yes, we need
Oh,
information.
yeah.
Thank you. I feel
Thank
very
you,
honored.
thank you, thank you. And we're going. You promised us part two all the way to part 10.
In fact, I promise, I pray that, time permitting and God permitting, I
Yeah.
would gladly show up
Mm.
again.
I love your passion to see people do better, to
Oh,
see people
yes.
not just keep
We're all on
suffering.
earth for a
Yeah.
limited time. We can
Mhm.
as well make it count for
Make
good,
it
right?
purpose driven and stuff like that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Guys,
Absolutely.
if you have not
Thank
subscribed,
you.
please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that
Yes,
I
please.
can
And
keep
leave
bringing
your
some powerful,
comments.
powerful, powerful
Yeah.
people.
Do people leave comments during the live session? Can you see comments?
No, I didn't see any comments. I see
Okay.
people have been
Please,
trickling
if
out
you're
and
watching this as a
mhm.
replay, if you're watching it later, please leave your comment, ask questions. I think what I would do is I would monitor this for the next couple of weeks and
Okay.
see if
Mhm.
people are asking questions and if there
Questions.
is any
Yeah.
way I
Yeah.
can respond to
Maybe
that,
even write a
I'll
chat like
do that.
that. Please leave questions and comments.
So be aware of the domestic abuse support agencies around you, right? And don't forget, you can't fast and pray for an abuser that is not willing to change.
Be aware of what did you say? Be aware of domestic support around you, right?
Yes,
Okay, I'm putting that comment.
I don't want to go into religion and abuse now,
We
because
will
that
do
would
that
take
one for part two.
we would have to be backing it up with
Hmm.
scripture, so people don't think we're
Yeah,
just
exactly. So people don't think we're
we're,
just
we're just quoting off. Yes, because things are changing anyway. Because we have religious leaders now who are going into training and all that about domestic abuse, but for most people, they've been failed by their religious leaders in the sense
hmm
that
and
they keep
some of them
sending
have
them.
even lost their lives.
That's right.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
religious leaders, unless you have a religious leader or religious support system that are objective and informed, avoid them otherwise. So go to domestic abuse agencies who would support you. And your
Mhm.
life is not over because you've experienced abuse.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can
You can
heal
still dig
and
yourself.
be
You can
made
still,
whole.
yeah, you can still be made whole. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It is life.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you, Temi.
Bye. Thank
Take
you. Love
care.
you. Queen. Mwah, mwah. Hugs. Cyber hugs. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.